Hi, this is Jennifer from Positively Learning. Thank you so much for joining me today. We are looking at the Special Educators Resource Room bundle, and today we're going to be talking communication and contact logs that we can use for families of students on our caseload. So you may have seen last week's video. If not, I'll be sure to link it below. But we talked a lot about communication. There were some templates for written correspondence with our families. Here, I just want to give more organizational tips and show you how I kept my contact logs so they were much more useful than some other systems I've used before. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, these contact logs are included in the Special Educators Resource Room. That is the bundle that you are looking at right now. These are the different categories. We're going to be looking at the Special Educators Toolkit. And this is all of those different forms and organizational tools that make our non-teaching tasks go a little smoother because those take a lot of our time, right? We just want to teach, but there are so many other parts of our role as special educators. And so these are designed to make it go a little easier. All right, so we're going to be looking at the communication logs. I've already opened them up right here. So these are the family communication logs. Now, I'm going to be showing you the print version. However, please know that these are also available in Google Docs. So if you want to do it digitally, that's there for you. I will say, as part of the requirement for the IEP system that we used, it was a state system, we had to log our parent communication, our family communication, and it was using their system. So this is a little bit different, and I'll explain why. The system we had to use as a requirement wasn't very user-friendly. It wasn't user-friendly to add our notes. And so we would just have room to put like a one sentence summary. And like the font was like so small, you're like, well, I hope it's spelled correctly because I can barely see it to make a correction. But it also wasn't very easy to access once it was logged. It was kind of in there just for our protection, which is very, very important. However, it wasn't super user friendly to like find out like what's going on, with a family and what kind of quality contact we've been having. So that's why I created these instead. These are the systems I created and used. Okay, so what I wanted to do is be able to have a system to make sure everybody was getting contacted, to have documentation in case we needed to refer to it later, but to also like have a good picture of what's going on. So that's what I did. All right, so here's the first form. This one is for your caseload in general. There's room for 4 different students to be logged on this page. So this is the kind of form that I would have in your classroom, in your resource room, nearby. And maybe you can make several copies of this and then put it in a 3-ring binder and keep it somewhere in like a prime location that everybody knew about. So whether it was support staff, related services, paraprofessionals, you could just grab this and log that information, make sure it's on paper before we forget, before the next conversation starts. This would be one of those grab real quick contact logs. So it'd be very useful. So there's a place for student and date, and then name of contact, and then the form of contact, which I think is so important. I always want to make sure that I'm honoring family preference whenever I can. We have some families that do not really want written correspondence. They're not picking up on that inflection that we have. We can tell, when we're having a phone conversation or face to face, or maybe they're just afraid like that written correspondence is going to get lost in the shuffle or in a backpack or so on, and they prefer phone or in person. We have other families who might be exactly the opposite. Like during a phone conversation, a lot of things are happening. Maybe it's at dismissal when it's kind of chaos, and they'd rather have this in writing that they could go back and refer to. So I always put the form of contact. This is also a really important thing to add, this form of contact, especially if it's a family that you've tried multiple times to reach and maybe you're last resort, like the 3rd or 4th time, was written correspondence that you sent home a notice. And so that would be a great place to put that in there. Written correspondence, use plenty of room to write down, like called on this day, left a voicemail, sent a text, or whatever makes sense. Okay, so the next page, I'm actually going to wait till the end. I'd move to this page instead. Now, again, this one is available in a Google Doc. I like the paper copy because this is like where I'm kind of putting my thoughts. The online system I mentioned earlier was more of the, like just the documentation, like just the basics. This gives me a little bit more room to put like the meaning behind the conversation. There's a little bit more room for notes. So the reason this page is just a little bit different is it's just one student per page. So if you know you're in contact like once or twice a month, if that is appropriate, then you'd have, of course, a few of these pages in the student file. You may have more, you may have less. This would be my preferred page to use because when I go back to look at it, I would be able to kind of follow the thread and to see how this was going, especially if it was like a specific thing that we were talking about. However, even though this is my preferred, this is the one that was kind of easier. Whoops, let me just get back to that one. This was the one that was probably a little bit used more often because it was just a lot easier. I didn't always have time to flip to a student file to get to the right page. This page was more of a catch-all, and then I could transfer the information to that online system. So this is more of the reality. This is more of like what I would love to do. Okay, and then this page right here, you may have seen this before in the last video. I love this page. I use it for everything. In this case, I want to show you how I use it. It is a communication log. Up at the top, you see the months of the school year going across, and then the left-hand column is a place to put student initials. So say I have a student JD. So I put JD right there, and I want to just be logging contact with family of the student. So maybe in August, I contact them 3 times. I could put 3 tally marks. Or maybe I just want to put like a yes or a no, a plus or a minus, a check or an X, whatever you want. Or there's even like a little bit of room I could just write down the form of contact, like the welcome letter and medical assistance forms and progress reports or whatever it is. And then the next row would be the next student. So say I had JD, here I have JF. And JF, I'm not in contact with that family as often as JD. It's just a little trickier to get a hold of them for a variety of reasons, right? So maybe in August, something was sent home and I have a tally mark. And maybe in September, there's 2 tally marks when I reached this family. And then October and November. And oh, wait a minute, it's December. And I can look back on this chart, kind of gives me that overall view. I haven't been in contact with this family. And I definitely need to be, right? I always say a minimum of once a month, although we know that some families we talk to every single day. But this chart kind of gives me that view where I can see like, oh, there's an empty space right there. Let me show you just one more example to wrap this up. And I do want to make these examples look a little bit better. Let me zoom in. I do want to redo these so that they just make a little bit more sense, but they definitely work. Right here is the form I just mentioned. We have student initials on the left-hand side. Everybody got a welcome letter in August. And September is a lot of phone calls going on. October, oh, wait a minute. The family of TH, I didn't get a hold of them. Same thing with JW. I need to get a hold of them. So this would be a really great way to see, especially if you highlight them, see what is happening and where to put your attention. And then up here on this left-hand side is just another example of filling out that form. This one's for caseload. This is the best sheet to have if you have multiple people and you want to get like all of the contact captured, which we know how important that is. All right, I hope this was helpful. I know it was awfully quick. If you have any questions, please let me know. If you have any suggestions of what you'd like to see in the next video, I would be so happy to do that. All right, thanks so much for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe.